We usually start the show with us halfway through a conversation.
Yeah, exactly. So, and that's, again, how you make the million. I don't know why I have to keep telling you guys this.
Well, I mean, we've learned so many things just right off the start of shows about how to get the big points in Muncie and
oh, yeah,
set
those
for
are
life.
points in Mondays, not cash.
There you go.
If you go to McDonald's,
Mm-hmm.
there's a QR code on their cups. I think it's their nutrition information. Scan that with your Muncie.
You know what? Of course, it doesn't work in Canada because it's a different QR code. But the last time I was in the States, I actually did that, and it worked. I was able to.
I was going to say, I could take a picture of it and send it to you, right? It would still work.
Yeah, theoretically, you could. But yes, I was actually able to scan the McDonald's Muncie, which it came up with a very amusing result. So anybody who's listening, I would suggest doing it just for.
I was just there with a child. Can't remember why, some quick meal. And I thought, QR code, I'm going to scan this. Oh, you've already found it, so I don't remember what it said. But there we are.
However, he tried to scan the airline boarding pass code today, and it did not work as a Muncie, just FYI.
I tried it just to see if Muncie had changed their software to read that type of code as well. It is a barcode reader.
Yeah, it's not a full.
It's a different
QR code.
I don't know what it's called.
It doesn't have the
formatted differently than a QR code.
The three squares in the corner, so it looks like that. I'll show it, but yeah.
Yeah, it was too bright, but
too much, wasn't it? Yeah, it's too bright, but you can't really tell. But it doesn't have that, so
it's the same, only different.
I was just curious, Red Laser will read, a dozen different barcode types. I was just curious if the Muncie app would.
Yeah, okay. It was worth trying.
Guess what?
Yeah.
It
did not.
It no go.
So it no go as opposed to Fugo.
That's later.
Shh! You're gonna spoil it if you mention Fugo.
Spoiler alert. So we got a big long show. We want to get to it.
Assuming somebody's listening.
Exactly. There's at least 2 people listening at the moment.
Okay.
All right.
That's never quite right.
Besides me and Jay.
Oh.
Oh.
Well, no.
Okay.
I found that last week when I was hosting with Scott on that the count is. It's either really slow or arbitrary.
Exactly. I don't know if it's just people watching in Google Plus or just people watching in YouTube, but it's not both. I don't know where they get the numbers from. But what I do know is I can hit a button, play some music, and we can start recording.
Cool.
So let's do that.
Do it slow and arbitrary.
The order cannot be arbitrary. Here we go. Here we are, and welcome to Caching in the Northwest. This is the only podcast dedicated to geocaching in the Great Pacific Northwest. We're going to talk about caches and cachers unique to this little corner of the country. So, log in and start your search. It's time to go caching in the Northwest.
That's right, geocachers and listeners. You will be relieved to hear that the Bad Cop and I are back from a successful charity fundraising event, and we'll restore order to Caching in the Northwest tonight. For those of you who may have missed last week's episode, well, I got to say I'm at a loss for words on how to describe the events that unfolded in our absence.
Wait, Wits End, you are at a loss for words? I don't think I've ever seen this before. Well, to get to the bottom of things, we've had a lengthy discussion with our board of directors and the HR folks. And against our better judgment and the judgment of others, we once again bring you the cacher who must not be named. Some say he pirates podcast and will be swabbing the poop deck for years to come. All we know is he's called Land Monkey.
I'm back. All right. Listeners and co-hosts, I am formally apologizing for taking over the podcast last week and inviting Scott Burks to be my co-host.
Oh, all right, all right. So look, now that we got that silliness out of our system, it's good to be back on the show, and I missed you guys last week. We've got a fun topic to dig into with you listeners tonight. Listeners, depends how many, one, singular, more, I don't know. Our topic tonight is tips and tricks with the new geocaching.com search engine.
A very worthy topic, my friend. But before we roll up our sleeves and start searching, we hope all of you listeners out there had an excellent Pi Day weekend. And
yeah, we did.
We're able to get some of those new souvenirs.
Yeah. Oh, the ding. Now, if you don't know what the ding is all about, we have a listener who listens to the podcast while in a tanning bed. And so, as a public service to all tanning bed listeners, because we don't want to single him out, we ring the bell to remind you to turn over, just like a chicken in a rotisserie. So, now that we've asked you good listeners over the past few weeks to share with us if you have any big milestones that you'd like to have recognized, guess what? Some people did. They answered the call. Isn't that cool?
Yeah,
very cool.
That's the whole idea here.
Yeah. As a reminder, please call or email audio about your geocaching milestones. We do love hearing from you. Now, Land Monkey, do you want to start us off with some that we've had from social media?
I sure do. So last Saturday at the Pi Day event in South Burnaby, I very personally was honored to share in the 2000th Smiley celebration and take the photo for cachers and CNW listeners 3 hams in a rose. So congrats,
That's awesome.
guys.
Congratulations. Yes, and you honored them with a U in there, I see, too.
There you go.
Very Canadian honor.
Absolutely. And I also have it on good authority that friend of the show and professional bear wrestler Dora Moore will be hitting a milestone imminently and definitely before our next show.
Awesome.
Professional bear wrestler. You know, not every podcast has professional bear wrestlers as part of their regular audience, so thank you. Well, on the topic of impending or imploding milestones, however you want to look at it, cacher Lazy Bones, wow, that's kind of like me. Anyway, that's his caching name. Cacher Lazy Bones tells us he's 150 from hitting that 1,000 smiley mark. 1,000 smiley mark. And Brylang and Bacon49. How can you not love a cacher's name that has bacon in it?
Yeah.
They are both closing in on number 3,000. I mean,
cool.
Those are major milestones, guys.
Absolutely.
Now, also heard from Jeep Girl 1970 and Keats 94 that they're closing in on 4,000 finds. So make sure you send us some audio from those milestones when you find them,
yes,
guys.
Definitely. And we will get you on the podcast. That'll be fun. Those are really huge accomplishments. I'm very proud of them. Hey, let's move on to a story.
Ooh, I like stories.
Can I tell you a story?
Please do.
Yes, this is from the nupper.org website. Some of you might think that's NPR, but
I'd like to buy a vowel, please.
yeah, Nupper. It's from the history department. It's called "Beware of Japanese Balloon Bombs." You know, those who forget the past are liable to trip over it. That's what it says.
And not in a good way.
Yeah. Recently, a couple of forestry workers in Lumbee, BC, that's about 250 miles north of the U.S. border, happened upon a 70-year-old Japanese balloon bomb. I had never heard of these things.
Oh, I had. I thought this was really cool.
Yeah. They called it a dastardly contraption. It was one of thousands of balloon bombs launched towards North America in the 1940s as a part of a secret plot by Japanese saboteurs during World War II. It was called Project Fugo, which in Japanese means wind ship weapon. The project called for sending bomb-carrying balloons from Japan to set fire to the vast forests of America. in particular those of the Pacific Northwest. It was hoped that the fires would wreak havoc, dampen American morale, and disrupt the U.S. war effort. And these things were seen over Thermopolis, Wyoming, Kalispell, Montana, even as far east as Nebraska. There was one tragic event in all this. May 5th, 1945, a pregnant woman and 5 children were killed when they discovered a balloon bomb that had landed in the forest of Gerhardt Mountain in southern Oregon. Archie Mitchell was the pastor of the Bly Christian and Missionary Alliance Church. He and his pregnant wife Elsie drove up to Gerhardt with 5 of their Sunday school students, aged 11 and 14, to have a picnic. How can that possibly go wrong, right? Elsie and the children got out of the car while Archie drove on to find a parking spot. As Elsie and the children looked for a good picnic spot, they saw a strange balloon lying on the ground, and as the group approached the balloon, a bomb attached to it exploded, killing Elsie and all 5 children instantly. That's tragic. That's, 60 years ago, and it's still tragic.
Yeah, it still wrenches your heart, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Another balloon bomb struck a power line in Washington State, cutting off electricity to the Hanford Engineer Works, where the U.S. was conducting its own secret project, manufacturing plutonium for use in nuclear bombs. One of those things. No, there's no laughing matter. The bomb recently recovered in British Columbia in October of 2014, so not all that long ago, has been in the dirt for 70 years, according to Henry Prost of the Canadian Mounted Police. He told the Canadian press it would have been far too dangerous to move it. So, you know how they handled it? Why, they put some C4 on either side of the thing, and they blew it to smithereens. Smithereens. There's a term I don't hear often enough.
It's the exact same way they deal with whales on the Oregon coast that get beat.
It blew it up real good.
Well, at least they blow it up anyway.
Yeah, that.
Well, Florence, Oregon had a whale of a problem. Never mind. That's a whole other story.
Well, that's a whole other story. That is crazy. And I mean, of all the things that you're worried about when you go geocaching, Japanese balloon bombs from World War II certainly wouldn't be on the top of my list. I had never even heard of these things until you guys shared this article before the show with me. It's amazing. It's a really interesting story. Obviously with some sad notes to it. And I'm very glad the forestry workers in Lumbee were unharmed, because obviously that could have gone really wrong.
Mm-hmm. It really could have. And obviously it didn't work the way it was supposed to, because the news story said that it targeted the forests in the U.S. and it wound up in British Columbia, which must be why it didn't explode, right?
That's right.
It landed in neutral territory instead of foreign enemy territory.
Yeah. I'm sure we were considered neutral.
No.
It is funny though. I mean, so just background. The story is from. It's from NPR, so it's from a U.S. publication. The story that we were reading out, and it is written. Obviously, history is written by the victors, and I just thought it was kind of funny the way that they talk about the dastardly contraptions and the Japanese saboteurs, and then just sort of a passing mention about the U.S.'s plutonium for nuclear bombs, and moving on.
Moving on.
I really got a whole sense of Gilligan's Island in that floating mine that came in. I don't know why, that just popped up in my head.
Oh man, well, you know what? I got to say kudos to the RCMP. They always get their man, and this time they got the bomb.
That's right.
Wow. Hey, a lighter news story.
Please.
Yes.
It all started in Belgium last year when a woman put playing hide and seek in an IKEA store on her pre-30th birthday bucket list. Now, I didn't know you had bucket lists for your pre-30th birthday, but she turned up with a few of her friends, and everyone had a great time. But now, things are getting out of control. The practice looks to ramp up from a few friends to something much bigger. Get this, word is spreading on Facebook, and similar events are planned in Europe and Canada. See? 19,000 people have signed up to an event at an Amsterdam store next month. This is all to play hide and seek in IKEA. They're looking
By
at
adults, by grown-ups.
by grown-ups, exactly. There's going to be 32,000 people across the world that want to play hide and seek in IKEA stores. That prompted the furniture retailer, which has 315 stores in 27 countries, to call time on these games. The company has contacted the various Facebook pages and kindly asked them to do the hide and seek outside the IKEA stores.
That's right.
They said most of the organizers have understood and agreed to pull the events. So all this to say, guys, you've got to get permission to hide anything, even yourself.
Or don't tell them you're coming.
Yeah. I mean, wouldn't that be cool to play hide and seek in an IKEA store? I've never considered it.
It's an interesting idea. I think my theory on it would be to go to an IKEA store to play hide, and leave me alone.
I want to say there were people that were actually trying to live in the IKEA store.
Oh, so it's sort of like what I was proposing then.
Yeah, just the hide part.
Leave
Yeah.
me alone. Oh my goodness. All right. Well, hey, there's one more thing we want to mention before we get into today's topic. Although you could say today's topic is a whole lot of news, which is still good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There is a cool event coming up, and before that event happens, and that event is going to be at the the Boeing Field Museum of Flight, and before that event happens, there is a contest ramping up. So get out your blueprints, your best Wile E. Coyote impersonation, your Acme credit card, and start thinking about how you're going to design the most awesome geocache for the Museum of Flight. So here's the deal. If you check out GC53WRC, it's the hashtag Flight Cache Design Challenge at Museum of Flight. The Flight Cache Design Challenge is now seeking creative aerospace-themed designs for their next hide. They have one puzzle cache in the Flight Museum, which I haven't done, but I'm looking to do in the future. And they're looking to, in partnership with geocaching.com, to get a second cache in there. So they say, bring your A game. Design a cache that will earn many, many favorite points once created. 1 to 2 page entries are due April 19th, 2015. Read the official rules and criteria, submit your entries via email, and you need not be present at the event to win. Your goal is to wow the judges. The judges include the museum staff, geocaching co-founder and CEO Jeremy Irish, and geocacher Lord British, who is America's only second-generation space traveler, video game designer, and the cacher who has hidden both the highest cache at the International Space Station and the lowest cache at the Rainbow hydrothermal vents under the ocean. So that's the deal on that. Check it out, guys. I think there's some really, really clever cachers who listen to this show, and you just could win. All the details about what you win, and there's quite a prize package, are, again, at GC53WRC. So we'll talk more about this on a later episode, but we wanted to make sure you guys had heads up, good notice, if you want to get in on the design challenge, because you only have 1 month left.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that sounds really cool, and definitely I think we could dedicate an entire podcast episode to just that event. It sounds really, really exciting. And you're right, there are some extremely creative listeners to our podcast, so get out there and make sure you drop a little hint about or a little plug to CNW when you're accepting your big prize.
Well, there you go. I heard about this on Caching in the Northwest.
That's right. So, hey, while on the topic of hiding and seeking with IKEA and yeah, not there. We're talking about there's a brand new geocaching.com search tool to help with the hiding and seeking of geocachers. And Landmonkey, would you be so kind as to introduce our listeners and viewers to this new tool? Perhaps even throw out some tips on using it?
Thanks, Witsend. I would love
Show
to.
and tell.
Go ahead.
We can
Show and tell. Right on. All right. Now I'm really grooving in this role here. I really feel like I'm redeeming myself this week. This is awesome. All right. I have been rolling up my sleeves and digging into the tool since it was released, and personally, I found it significantly better to use in some ways than the previous options on this listing site, geocaching.com. Now, of course, as with anything, the reviews are mixed, and folks, keep in mind this is not the final product. The Agile development team at geocaching.com is continuing to enhance the tool, so expect over time to see it get better. But it only gets better if you provide constructive feedback through the forums, and that's probably the best way. So,
exactly. Well, for those of you in the Hangout, please use the live Q&A, and you can ask questions or make suggestions at any point. Now, one thing geocaching.com wants you to know, that this is only the hunter section of the hunter and gatherer tool, right? So this is going to let you find. There's going to be more tools added on that are going to let you gather or make pocket queries as we go along. So this is only part of it.
Awesome. Absolutely. Yeah, we definitely want to hear from you folks. So I'm just launching a screen share here on my side. So anybody who is watching the video afterwards or watching live, hopefully you can see my screen, and I'll have the opportunity here to kind of walk you through some of this stuff as we go through. We do have a few comments in the Q&A. I'm just taking a quick look to see if they're about search.
None of them about your forced confession.
Okay. All right. Yeah. You're absolutely right, Brylang. That was a completely forced confession. But it sounded almost legit, so there you go.
Almost.
Almost. All right. So let's get going. And again, guys, if you've got questions or comments that you want to throw out to us while we're going, just put them in the QA while we're going. We'll keep an eye on that. So first things first, and as remedial as it may seem, I want to just show everybody how to access the tool, because it's good to know where this thing is. So what you do is, from your geocaching.com screen, so you can see me here, Land Monkey. Hey, look, it's the Land Monkey. All you have to do is click on play, find a cache, and just like magic, you can search the millions of geocaches worldwide. That's what it told me. That's what it does.
Woohoo.
So from that main search page, you're going to have 4 basic options. So the first option is to just get right into your custom geocache search, and that's this white area with an arrow, a magnifying glass, and this comment or this button that says Add Filters. So that's where we're probably going to focus. Well, not probably. That's where we're going to focus most of our time this evening, on that area. The other 3 that I just want to point out quickly, right down here, you just scroll down the screen a little bit more, and it says start with the most popular searches, and they figured these are the searches that they find that most people do, understandably so. One is, it just does a search. You click search now, it'll do a search focused on your home coordinates and just bring up an expanding radius of 16 kilometers from your home radius, all the geocaches. The second one is current location. Now, of course, if you're at home, there is really no point in clicking that one as opposed to home coordinates. But this one's kind of cool if you're out on the road doing some work and you want to go geocaching in the evening. So you're at your hotel room, you're on the internet, or you're visiting your Aunt Bertha and you're using her internet connection, and you hit the search now button and it'll do the same thing, but it'll do it from wherever your home location is. Funny note, Daryl and I were talking about this last week and made the comment of, what if you're on the road and you're VPN'd into work? Well, then it's going to use the IP address that it detects you have, which would at that point then be your IP address for your office. So it's going to work from there. So just be aware of some of those things. Last one is top rated geocaches in your region. It's going to use your home region, state, or province, or country, depending on how big your country is, and it's going to list all the caches in that radius, in that area, in order of favorite points. So it's going to go out into that whole spectrum of region, state, or province, or country, and list from the top most favorite points down the first 1,000 caches. So the 1,000 favorite most caches in your region. So it doesn't guarantee that the first ones on the list are going to be close to you, just so you know that. All right. So moving back up, for today's episode, we're going to pass on those latter three. I gave them a pretty detailed description there, so I think you've got it. They're pretty self-explanatory. But hey, let's dig into the tool itself instead. So if we're up here, you've got a blank slate here. You've got a white text field at the top of the screen. You can enter in a place name, city, province, state, country, specific address, and I've actually found you can enter in some landmarks, and it will accept them. I've entered in the Eiffel Tower. I've entered in Grand Canyon. I've entered in
Caching in the NorthWest Studios.
Yeah, that one came up with an error, which I think we're going to have a talk with the guys at geocaching.com about. It just didn't seem right. But funny enough, it did work that way, so that was kind of cool. What I have done is I've tried mucking around with wildcards, and they kind of just pretty much don't work, so don't bother. What I have also tried, because you can also put in GC codes, and again, if you don't put in an entire GC code, it's just going to assume that it's a low GC code, and it's going to go to, it's not going to use it as if there's wildcards on the end. It's just going to go to that. And same deal with coordinates. I tried mucking about with wildcards and coordinates. Doesn't work at all. If you put in partial coordinates, it's just going to assume that it's all zeros in the end. So for example, let me quickly show you what I mean. If you type in north, and of course I'm just going to be super Canadian here, 49, and west 1.2, and say, I wonder what I'll get, and you hit enter, it's going to assume you meant north 49, 00 minutes, 0.000 seconds, and west 122, 00 minutes, and 0000 seconds. So it's going to take you to there and start listing up geocaches like Cultus Lake Vista, which is the closest cache to those coordinates. So that all to say, don't bother doing that. So there's a quick example of how that works.
We do have feedback here.
Oh, go for it.
It was funny from Wet Coaster. He says, dumb things that geocachers have done. I've never scrolled down on that screen to see those three options below.
There you go. I don't know if Wet Coaster would actually use them because he's a pretty complex guy with his geocaching, but now he knows they're there.
He also adds the current location choice could be great when we go to Europe next month.
Absolutely it would. As long as he's not VPN'd into work, because then it would really not help.
There you go. I don't know. The nearest cache is 4,000 miles away, and I can't figure out why. But continue.
Awesome. Thanks. I did actually also get some feedback from listener and contributor Bri Lang, who shared with me this week that you can just leave this first field empty, not put anything in there, and just hit the Add Filters button, and you can get right into fine-tuning a search that way. That's great and it works. The only caveat I would throw on there is if you're going to do that, you will need, and we'll go through some of the fields in the filters in a moment, but there's a search only in field, and you will need to place a location in there, otherwise it'll error out on you. But absolutely, you don't have to put something into this white field to start with, but it's kind of an intuitive way of doing things, and it works fairly well to do that. So I'm just going to do get a blank screen. That didn't work. I'm just going to go here. There we go. Get back to the starting point. So let's pull up a scenario here. Let's put in city of Bellingham. There we go. I've previously done this. And so I've placed a location. Now I can just hit the search button, and it's going to just apply all the defaults, and it'll be as if I was in Bellingham and clicked current location. But if I'm not in Bellingham and I want to check out what are the caches in Bellingham, just type that in, and then we hit the add filters, and now it gets cool. This is where all the power is here. So you've got a whole ton of options in there, and you can really just sort of work from those and tweak them out, try all kinds of different stuff. Bad Cop, have you had a chance to look at that?
I have. And I have to say, just simply being able to search a city is far more powerful than the search facility was before, because before you would have to go to you'd have to go make a pocket query and put a circle around the city you want to include and do all that. This is much easier. Now, what I like to do is look for events. So, there's a lot of different ways to tune your searches, but I like to leave the first field empty, hit apply filters, unclick everything but event, and then search only in Washington State and go. And it's going to pull up all the events in Washington State. Then you can sort by, it sorts by distance by default, but any of the options along the top there, I actually have to go do one because I don't know all the options at the moment.
Okay. I'm typing it in as you talk. So.
Okay. Yeah. Well, the one I know is date. So you can sort all your events by date. Look at okay. Here's what we're going to do in the next couple of months. Here's the events I want to know. I know I want to go hit. So I think that's pretty cool.
That is pretty cool.
Yeah, it's very cool.
So, yeah. Run that.
Looks like a very powerful search there.
Yeah,
so
so what do you have? You have distance, direction. You have to read those for me. I can't quite read them.
Sorry, distance, favorites,
Favorite.
which, of course, events don't get a lot of favorites.
Yeah.
Size, which I think is funny. Well, of course, these are defaults, right? So
Right.
difficulty, terrain, last found, and then placed on, which is the actual date of the event.
Exactly.
So
And
that's
so you can click on any of those column headers and sort by that.
Oh, nice.
so now we've. Oh, go ahead.
You don't have to sort just by, whatever the default is. So if you're looking, I want to be in Spokane and find me all the caches that have the high favorites there, that's pretty easy to do.
Very cool.
Absolutely. All right, so let's take another practical example. That was a great example. Thanks, Bad Cop.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say I want to plan a caching trip with the Bad Cop and Wits End because clearly the three of us need to get out and go geocaching.
Yes.
Well, clearly.
So the first thing I'm going to want to do, because I'm talking about planning a caching trip, and as we mentioned before, this is the hunting tool, not the gathering tool. I have to have a sense of approximately where are we going to go. So let's say I'm going to head south, and we're going to go and do some geocaching in the Tacoma area. So I'm going to start by typing in Tacoma, Washington. Now I'm going to throw some filters on.
More than just events? Why?
More than just events. Yeah, I am going to. So here's another good tip. Because it kept all my settings from the last search I did, and I don't want to have those same settings, there's this button or this hyperlink here, clear filters.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
So
it'll clear them all at once.
So it resets everything to the default levels there.
Absolutely. So if I just go with all the defaults here, and I do update search, and I run for Tacoma, there's 1,091 caches within 16-kilometer radius of the center of Tacoma.
That's 10 miles for the folks down south.
There you go, 10 miles. That's the default. So again, we're really just being told that from the geographic center of Tacoma, based on what Google Maps tells us is the geographic center of the town, and going out 10 miles or 16 kilometers, there's 1,091 geocaches that we could find. But, okay, the guys don't necessarily want to go and find caches that I've already found, and vice versa.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't want to find ones you've already found. What fun would that be for you? If you're going to go all the effort to come all the way down to Tacoma for us, let's find something that you haven't found yet.
All right, so guys, how do we want to tweak this out?
Well, I'm just going to sit back and let you drive and let you do the hard work because you're driving all the way and doing all the search. Well, no, that's not the answer, right?
Well, that's not what I scripted anyways. Yeah.
Well, there is a nice field there that says not found by.
Really?
Yes. And the default text says you can enter in up to 5 geocaching names.
Yes.
Nice.
So since there will be 3 of us, let's put them in. And the other cool thing, I love it when it does this, is you start typing in the geocaching name, and it'll bring up all the other ones that are like it. And hey, there's the bad cop, not the bad guy,
Not the
and
bad
not
guy,
the bad
the bad
boys,
K, the bad boys. And there's just the bad.
The
the
bad.
bad cop. Although
The bad bunnies.
sounds pretty fun. All right, so we got that. Now, other fellow we're going to go with is our friend Wits End. And again, there's lots of fun permutations. Wits hilarious. Ooh, I like that one.
We need to make some new friends.
And last but not least, now I can type my own name in, or what I can do is I can just click this button up here. It says that I haven't found. Boom, puts my name in there. And monkey.
Oh, wow. Very cool.
So at this point, what we're going to do is we've expanded the search out to a 20-kilometer radius, and we just want to show caches that none of us have found. All right, so if I launch that,
Probably down to 1,087.
Yeah, that limits 3 caches.
there you go. In fact, the number goes up
Because you went to 20 kilometers.
because we did expand the
the
radius. We did expand the radius. But it's some pretty easy stuff here, really, to do. I think most of the viewers and listeners already know how to do this kind of stuff, but it's fun to play around with it, and hopefully it's useful for you guys to see us doing this. And another thing that you've probably already heard, but I just want to again make sure you can't just click and turn these into pocket queries, which we've heard a future release will have that. There is a hack right now if you want to keep the results of a search, and that is just simply create a bookmark, not a geocaching.com bookmark, but your web browser bookmark of the results page. So again, I just ran this search. I've got these results. What I can do is I can just go to my bookmarks, bookmark this page, and give it some sort of unique, interesting name.
Lazy fellows down south.
Yeah, Land Monkey and the Losers, something like that.
Yeah, I like the other options better than what I typed, but I throw that in there, and you just go back to that bookmark, and it'll actually, I've tested it, it does actually work. It will bring up these exact search results. So that's
really cool.
It's handy to know. The other thing I want to mention is that you can, with the click of a button, map the results. I would always recommend, if you're going to map the results, that you actually right-click and open it either in a new tab or new window. That way, if you want to keep tweaking your search, you don't have to go back or rerun the search. That can be a little annoying. So it's just a quick little tip.
That's a handy tip in a lot of parts web browsing. I do that at work a lot for researching stuff. Yeah.
And I'm a big one. I'll have dozens of tabs open. Wits End always makes fun of me. But I look at that
list.
He
has so many tabs you can't read the tabs because they're so small.
But what I will do is I'll right-click and open up a few of those caches that are interesting. Open them in a new tab and move on. See, look at all those caches that form a nice little circle around the city of Tacoma.
That's cool.
Mm-hmm. You guys, wow, really? That's a lot in Tacoma that you haven't found. I know I haven't found any in Tacoma.
Well,
yeah, you have an excuse. Not so much.
We might have found every one of those and just haven't had time to log them yet because that's a lot. and I can say honestly that once upon a time, we had Tacoma completely cleared out. So
yeah, we did.
But thankfully there are lots of active caches hiding lots of new caches, and so we have more to get out and find. And isn't that a wonderful thing?
That is. So that means that our future caching trips together in Tacoma will have lots to do.
Exactly.
Absolutely. So this is an awesome tool for planning a group caching trip, like, Land Monkey and the 2 Losers come down and go caching in Tacoma. I can see how it'd be handy for finding caches to complete challenges, too. Would that work?
Oh, definitely.
Can you filter stuff that way?
Yes. Well, you can always search for the word challenge, which will help.
Yeah.
And, a lot of the challenges, well, when doing the fizzy challenge, I need to find, a 4.5, 3.5 cache. You can narrow down your search results. And, I don't care where it is. Search anywhere in the state. I need to find this particular cache to complete my challenge. So you could do that.
That's cool.
So there you go. Yeah, and just quickly, all I did is I threw the word challenge in there. Now, the other thing is, note that the name search function is way better than it used to be.
Oh, man.
Anybody
Before
who's
you had to know the name of the cache before you could find it.
exactly,
Kind of defeated the purpose.
it really did. It really did. All it would. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, I would always cheat and go to Google and type site:geocaching.com and then whatever I was looking for. And I use Google to search geocaching.
Absolutely, yeah. Now with the advanced search, you just enter in a string of characters and it will give you the results, all the results that have those characters anywhere in the geocache name, not just the caches that start with those characters as it used to be. However, again, this is one of those your mileage may vary things. In my experience, you can't use wildcards as it considers them characters in the search string. Now, there may be a way, if somebody knows what kind of database they're using in the back end, to insert wildcard characters with special characters. I don't know what that is. So, for your average user, don't even bother trying with the wildcards, but you shouldn't need to anymore.
Exactly.
Yeah, and inserting things into variables that talk to databases is sometimes not met with favorable results, or people with badges come talking to you. So be careful if you start trying to manipulate URLs and wildcards and things like that.
Good point. Good point.
So that was an awesome wrap up of that caching tool, and we want to look ahead and remind people to check in again next week when we're going to have another great episode with another great guest to discuss an upcoming mega event. So, and to keep you all posted of what episode is coming up next, check the show website. I believe it's something really hard like cachingin.com/upcoming.
Yeah.
Like that.
We have been working hard to get guests lined up. So, yeah, that upcoming is going to be updated. Upcoming.
Forthcoming.
The upcoming will be updated forthcoming.
Okay.
Before we sign off tonight, I want to hit some of the Q&A. Breiling said that Geocacher User Insight Forum has 2 new topics today that will only be open for 1 week. They are, number 1, cache listing, and number 2, map. So, there you go.
Excellent.
Wet Coaster really likes that bookmark method, and who doesn't?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, it puts all the intelligence of the search into the URL, so it's easy to save and use again. So there you have it.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Thanks, everybody in the Q&A. It was a lot of fun walking everybody through that, and hopefully our listeners will have learned a little bit about how to use this, and definitely check out those forums that Breiling was mentioning. If you've got creative ideas about how things can get better, give them your input. I'm sure they'd love to hear it as long as it's constructive.
Exactly. So, with that, we want to say thank you for taking the time to listen to this episode of Caching in the Northwest. Don't forget that you can be part of the show. You can call in to 253-693-TFTC and leave us a comment, correction, question, or milestone any time of the day or night. Call us right when you're at the cache. That's always nice. Of course, you can email us at feedback@cachingNW.com. Also, your support helps keep quality shows like this coming. So if you like this show, please click the PayPal link on the CachingInTheNorthwest.com website. This show's licensed under a Creative Commons Attribution 3.0 license, copyright 2015 by Chris Umfenauer. It is really hard to get through that with a pink pig in the window.
Oh, one pig fly.
Is it a flying pig?
It is.
Yeah. And remember, this episode is brought to you by you. So click that PayPal button on the website Oh, I love it.
Okay, I stopped recording. Oh.
I couldn't go a week without destroying another show.
It was funny. We were talking about SQL injection or injection of code.
SQL injection, yeah.
Yeah.
And,
Like, I know you can do it. I'm just not really saying you should. But
Yeah.
there is a website I use to order supplies,
Oh,
and I
yes.
could not put in my street because
Okay.
it's an SQL command.
Yeah.
We work on Union Avenue, and it would reject it because of the word union. So
Is
I'd
it
have to go U space union.
Yeah.
Union.
That's funny.
The stuff always got to us, but, and I'd always put in a comment down below. Hey, guys, I understand you want to be safe, but, I think you can figure out the address, but I can't put that in there.
I'm really not trying to hack your data.
It took us a while to figure out why it was rejecting the entry.
Yeah. Well, I can see. Yeah. Initially, your thought would be that there's something wrong with the way you're typing it in. Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
Or
No, that's a valid address.
Yeah. I immediately thought, uh-oh, did my browser get hacked? Am I doing an SQL injection and I don't know it? Doramore says, I'm not having any luck with the keyword search.
The keyword search. Let's take a look here. What are we talking about? In the geocache name?
Pi Day.
Yeah. Here, well, let's see. I have to.
It should work. It may be.
City. Well, if I just put in PI, what do I get? I'm scared.
We couldn't recognize that location. Please try again.
I got everything that has PI in it. So.
Right.
Pi space day.
Romanico and Piemonte.
I can recognize that location, Pi Day. So that definitely wants a location.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, and I tried the same thing. If you don't put any kind of location in, so yeah, Doramore. This is what I was getting at earlier when I was saying that you may need to actually put something in the search only in. So again, if you're just looking for challenge caches and you're not going to be particular where they are, you have to give some sort of parameter. So down below, you can put in challenge or whatever terminology you want in the geocache name contains field, but then go down to the search only in, and type in British Columbia, because I wouldn't type in anything else. It'll bring up below Canada, British Columbia. Click on that so that it accepts it. That's the other thing you have to be aware of. If you just type it in and it looks like it's taking it, you have to make sure you click below where it's auto-populating the text to make sure it puts it in. But anyways.
You looked for tree hugger and or tree space hugger.
Okay. So I'll try that out. I think tree hugger.
I didn't come up with anything in.
So it works for me, but I did put in the search only in. I put in British Columbia. So you do have to, if you don't put a region in, it will fail, and it'll say, "Oh no, a DNF. We couldn't find any caches."
I thought that was funny. Oh no, a DNF.
I just got that. Oh no, a DNF.
So Doramore, the secret is if you're going to be searching by name, in the advanced fields, you have to put in a location as well. If you're just going to search by name, you don't want to give a location. Filters. Go there. Let's try this. Boom, boom. Yeah. So if you want to just search by name, but you don't want to put you don't want to put a location in, then just clear all your filters in the Add Filters box. So go to Add Filters, go down the bottom, Clear Filters, then close it, and then in the main text here, you know what? I'm gonna share my screen again. This is just going to be easier than trying to explain this. Full screen, start screen share. Okay, so hopefully you can see this. And what I'm doing, let's filters.
I don't see it yet. I just see your picture.
Oh, really? It's not showing the screen?
No.
I'm seeing it. Give it a
Oh, are
minute.
you okay?
All right. So let's do a clean start here. Find a cache. So if I put in tree hugger, 2 words, and just hit go at this point, it's going to say we couldn't recognize that location. So this is
Right.
what I'm talking about.
That's exactly what Bryling just put up there. Skip
Right.
the initial search box, go to the geocache name contains, and enter tree hugger. Then select British Columbia for the state, province, country.
Exactly. So here I'll actually do that live here while we're, for Pete's sake. There you go.
And Doramore
You
responded,
have to-
still didn't find the one I wanted. I had to put in the city as well.
There you go. Yes, you will have to. So if you go into geocache name contains tree hugger, and then British Columbia, and like I said, you have to now just go below if you can see what I'm doing and click on British Columbia. There you go, because it wants it in a certain format, and then search. It'll bring up all the caches with tree hugger,
All 2 of them.
all 2 of them. Now that's because I didn't put a space in. Now if you
Oh.
put a space in, you will get these, but they won't be the first 2 in the list.
They may not be the only 2.
They will definitely not be the only 2, because it's going to find every cache that has tree and hugger in the name.
Wet Coaster adds, not every cache with challenge in the title is a challenge cache. Maybe there's a unique icon for challenge caches.
Yeah, I think a lot of people would love to see a oh shoot, I'm gapping on what that's called, a
Icon?
yeah,
Souvenir?
not,
picture?
not an icon, but a like a category,
Cache type.
attribute.
Oh,
Attribute.
there you go.
A challenge cache attribute, I think, would be awesome. A lot of people have talked about that. I think that would be a really good thing to do.
And Brylang also shared an xkcd.com comic. I don't know if you're familiar with those.
No, not yet. I'm about to be.
Boy, this and if you know SQL injection, this is funny. So it's, hi, this is your son's school. We're having some computer trouble. Oh dear, did he break something? In a way. Did you really name your son Robert, quote, close bracket, semicolon, drop table students? Yes, little Bobby Tables, we call him. Well, we've lost this year's student records. I hope you're happy. And I hope you've learned to sanitize your database inputs.
Nerd humor, I love it.
Yes.
Yes, little Bobby Tables, we call him.
Yeah.
That's good. Thanks, Brian. It's a good laugh.
Doramore posts, it was case sensitive when I tried it. That doesn't help much, being some of the cache names have mixed cases or symbols in them. Didn't know that. I did. I have to go back and look at what's my filter here. I did tree hugger. So let's do P capital I, capital P capital I, lowercase day.
Okay.
And I get a lowercase pi. I get a P lowercase I day gathering. It's
I don't think it is
pi.
case sensitive.
I don't think it is.
So maybe there's something else in your search criteria, Doramore, that you might want to just try making sure you clear all the filters. But cool. I'm glad people are trying it out. And Doramore, if you want to talk about it more, I know where you're going to be tomorrow morning.
Well, that's creepy.
I'm going caching with.
Our listeners are going to be tomorrow morning.
I do. I keep little Bobby Tables and we've been working on a little project.
That's him.
No,
little Bobby Tables.
Dora Moore has invited me to go with her and a small group of others for a milestone cache tomorrow morning.
Nice.
Nice. Very cool.
An attribute for challenges would be good if you could search by attribute. Wet coaster
Mm.
says.
Dun dun dun.
Dun,
Well,
dun.
there you go.
Oh, there we know.
So make sure Brian knows what you want. By which I don't mean Brian Lang. I mean, although that's good too, but I'm talking about.
Tree Hugger and Tree Hugger both return the same results for me.
Yes, they should.
I
matter how loud
understand
you
she
yell
may
it.
be getting frustrated, but she doesn't need to yell.
Oh dear. Yeah, and Brian Lang, much earlier in the show, made a comment to the effect that all the cachers who had called in milestones were all Canadian. Just saying. Yeah.
Duh. Well, I think the Bad Cup and I are the only two Americans involved watching or otherwise connected to the podcast.
I think our download listenership is wider than that.
Barely. You know, we should, I'm thinking out loud now, we should have another number to call into for Canadians, because it's long distance to dial 253. It's a...
Well, I mean,
isn't it?
How many people actually call in anymore as opposed to just use your iPhone or your Android phone, record a little audio, and email it?
Yeah. Nobody calls in anymore.
They never call. They never write.
Right.
Okay, so I've been poking through more XKCD comics. I've read them a lot, but I haven't read them
recently
or regularly. And FYI, some of them are NSFW. You probably gathered that. The title, the byline of the website is a webcomic of romance, sarcasm, math, and language. But this one I found is, the guy says, "We had a fight last night. I guess she's still mad. I woke up to find she'd written a sappy love note to my boot sector."
Nice.
Oh, geek humor.
All right, I want to try what Brian's talking about. Top-rated geocaches in your region. So click, search now. Show some interesting notes. If you sort by distance.
Oh, if you sort once and then you sort again, it should go from nearest to farthest. Should it not?
Trying to tell what it just did. I'm going to have to do this again. Something looks funny here. All right, I got to pay attention to what's going on. All right.
Top-rated geocaches in your region. Search now.
So if I do that. So yeah, so it starts with furthest away. No, actually what it starts with is within my region, within BC, what has the most favorites.
Mm-hmm.
Which interestingly enough is a Bernie's Traveling Geocache multicache, which is very bizarre. But anyways, so if I sort once by distance, I'm going to get from my location going outwards. If I hit it a second time, oh, okay. If I hit it a second time, of course, it doesn't really sort by favorites anymore because it's you sort of nulled that. And it's gone out 1,400 kilometers.
Did you get the Dharma Initiative Phase 2?
No, but I'm pretty far north of you. I've got just south of 60 South Klondike Highway.
Well, I did the same thing, okay? Most everything is about 275 miles when I search, except for the Dharma Initiative Phase 2, which is 3,700 miles away.
Oh, that's interesting.
A little extreme.
Maybe that's the result Brylang got, and that's why it's different than what I'm seeing. Cool.
And then we narrow down to in my region, which is 275 miles away.
Yeah. Yeah, I suppose it depends where you are within your region.
Or 0.2.
Or how big your region is. Wait a minute. I don't think we want to have that conversation.
Are you talking about my boot sector?
Yeah.
It's interesting because it shows the caches you found.
Yep.
With a smiley on them, obviously. But it didn't sort them out.
Well, it's hard for me to tell because I found so many in my area.
Okay,
here.
this is interesting. As I scroll down through it, there are some with 0 favorite points.
Yeah. So
How can
why
it
would
be
it?
favorite in my area?
Well, maybe that's what Bryling's getting at. But again, yeah, okay, yeah, he made a comment. 1450 plus kilometers away. Yeah, it's well because what it's doing is if you take a look, it's filtered by region. So if I click on change filters, it's showing, so Brightline, it's showing everything in British Columbia. So, it's going to the furthest corner of BC, I would assume. Or
I gotta look at this one. Well, it says it's in Washington.
yeah, and your region is going to be different than mine. You're going to have Washington as your region. Mine's British Columbia.
But just to let you know, it says in Washington, but the coordinates are north 4, west 162.
Okay, so that's that
That's
Darman
not
initiative.
Washington.
Yeah, so that's really weird. Brylang's talking about the furthest one away that I have is actually on the Yukon BC border, and it is 1,400 kilometers away. But again,
This
pretty
puts
crazy.
it well out beyond Hawaii.
Yeah, your results are really weird. Maybe it's
that one, but that one on the cache page, you've got coordinates, and then you have in, and it says in Washington, United States. So obviously there's an error there on the page.
Yeah, but somebody has spoofed the location field in the database somehow.
Mm-hmm. Fryling says, I think Land Monkey nailed it. Searching in your region, which appears to be your province or state.
Yep.
White Coaster says, in XKCD, remember to hover your mouse over the cartoon. I didn't do that. I got to go back.
All right. Well, while you're doing that, Dora Moore earlier in the show did make a comment of, well, they're on my list now. Thanks for that. And tongue sticking out face. And I believe that was with reference to the Japanese balloon bombs, and to have them on your list of things to watch out for when you're geocaching. Yeah.
Will the IKEA monkey make an appearance?
Is that like the trunk monkey?
I don't think so. I don't
One
know
of my all-time favorite commercials. The trunk
it
monkey.
is. Yeah.
Yeah.
The other one that I have to consider my all-time favorite commercials are the Real Men of Genius Budweiser ads.
I don't know if I've seen those.
They're more radio ads than TV. I think there have been a couple of TV, but there weren't many. Did they start out Real Men of Genius and then turn to Real American Heroes, or did it go the other way around? Anyway,
I don't remember.
I don't know. I have 100 of these, and I have burned them off onto CD for my parents, so they can listen to them in the car. And they do.
That's a lot. 100?
Oh, yeah. And they're absolutely hilarious.
I'll have to Google that up and check it out.
And yeah, it's while it's technically suitable for work, it may not be everybody's cup of tea.
Gotcha.
So
awesome.
They're hilarious.
Well, I think that wraps up the show. It's been an hour of online time. That's quite a bit.
That's enough for anyone.
I think so. And thanks to our live viewers for
even the
hanging in there. And
we have left. Meaning questionable, we don't really know if we have 4 or not. And good night, folks.